Welcome back to Reading Real Estate. Convincing sellers. Why sell now? You must understand the seller's goals, objectives, and desires well enough to be able to persuade them of the advantages of selling in a buyer's market. The move down seller is fairly easy because you can show them monetarily, as mentioned earlier, but they may not be monetarily advantaged. For the seller to sell in a buyer's market, they may just want to simplify or have a lower hassle factor, more freedom, less maintenance issues of the home, or a change in the location of lifestyle. They may want to be closer to family, whether that is children or parents. You may have to probe the reasons why they are even considering moving. What are they hoping to move will accomplish for them? What lifestyle do they desire later in life? You have to be willing to gain perspective on your seller to really help them. Sometimes when you probe that deeply with caring and concern for your client, the best counsel and advice is for them not to move at this time. If that is the case, then you must state that empathetically to them as well. There are plenty of reasons to sell in any market, provided that it is really what's best for your seller. Your seller will respect that you were honest enough to put their needs above yours. Once you recognize that the timing might not be right for them, you must determine the exact terms and conditions they need to sell. You will then want to put into your CRM, contract relationship management, solution a reminder every few months to check back in. You might sort them into sellers that need the marketplace to increase value by 5%, 10%, 15% before they can sell. When through your analysis that the market has shifted and appreciated or reached 5%, you can call and announce the fact that the 5% goal of potential sellers, you tell them it would make sense to have a second appointment to review the home value and the marketplace numbers. Building urgency in buyers. Yeah. Because urgency is not automatic in a buyer's market. Agents need to create it to move buyers to attention, to action. One way to build urgency is to demonstrate to a buyer what a value particular home might be that they're interested in. Doing a competitive market analysis, a CMA, and showing them a seller who is actually under market or a property they might be able to secure under market can build urgency. Buyers in a buyer's market are attracted to deals. Find deals and present them to your buyers to create more urgency. Show your buyers what the market is really like in the market segment. If they are looking for a home in the XYZ school district between $350,000 and $400,000, show them over the last quarter the number that have sold against numbers that's available. By demonstrating the number of buyers that have bought, level of compensation, and the average list price compared to a sell price, and you can potentially heat up their level of interest. If the buyer's market have been prevalent for a few years and price correction has happened, you can often use the previous value of the home with eventually appreciate back to a motivator. You can qualify the discount the buyer is receiving from the previous high water mark in value. This can set the bar to a future level value level in their mind. Real estate markets appreciate over time. A buyer needs to understand that the opportunity of a buyer's market is contained in the action of actually buying and closing a property. Shift happens. A shift in the real estate market is inevitable. That might sound like doom and gloom, but it's the truth. Any market will shift or change over time. A shift in the market catches most companies and agents off guard. Is it because it's never happened before? That's typically how agents react, but cycles have been happening in markets, from sellers markets to neutral markets to buyers markets and back, since the beginning of time. Through observation and analysis, you can better prepare for a shift. Recognizing early stages of the market shift. At its core, a shift occurs when supply and demand moves or adjuncts. The law of supply and demand is exactly that, a law. A law creates certain and specific rules and parameters. The most important factor of a law is that it pursues certain outcomes. In real estate sales, the law of supply and demand is absolute. A buyer's market will always create buyer hesitancy, fear, and apprehension in a large pool of buyers. The inventory of sellers who want to sell will increase until there are more sellers who want to sell the buyers who want to buy. A seller's market always produces the reverse. Fewer sellers than buyers produces higher pricing and value on properties. Where is your market now? Based on the law of supply and demand, where is it shifting to or trending toward? How is the law of supply and demand influencing the market in certain locations and price ranges in the marketplace? Real estate markets tend to follow a seasonal pattern as well. The inventory of homes for sale tends to build for the spring and summer selling season. It starts to ebb in the other direction into fall, moving into the winter. We only hope in real estate that the pool of buyers increases in relation to the increase in listing inventory. Here's how I define the three kinds of markets. Seller's market has less than 6 months of inventory. Neutral market has 6 months of inventory. Buyer's market has more than 6 months of inventory. Be aware that you could have a buyer's market and a seller's occurring at the same time, depending on the price range or location. In Bend, Oregon, where I live in the upper end, which would be 950,000 and above properties, we're currently have 3.5 months of inventory. It's a reasonable seller's market trending to a neutral market. But at the entry level, below 500,000, we have 7 months of inventory, about 3 weeks, 0.7 months, a ranging seller's market. To recognize the shifts, you must watch your absorption rate numbers or months of inventory numbers. Based on the current sales per month, how many months would it take to sell off the inventory if no new homes came on the market? Is there a net gain or a loss of inventory month by month? A market, when shifting, will usually start in the opposite ends of the market. A marketplace that is shifting from a seller's market to a neutral one and then to a buyer's market will shift indications of that in the upper and upper middle price segments. It will happen in the more elite properties first. Conversing, a shift to a seller's market for a buyer's market will start at the lower end and low middle of the market and work its way upward. You have to view the real estate market as the playing field of the game of the real estate. We couldn't control the market. We could control our attitude about the market. We control our mindset, our focus, and our intensity toward what we do. We control our actions or the plays that we run. When a football team encounters a muddy playing field, they don't forfeit the game. They change the plays to take advantage of the field conditions to improve their odds of winning. They might even change equipment to enable them to gain better footing. That is what I am suggesting you do as well in a shift. Shift recognized now. What? When the marketplace is shifting from a seller's to a buyer's market, you need to get ahead of it. In my conversations with sellers at those times, it's imperative that I convince them to take their pricing beyond competitive to compelling. The value of their home must leap out of the MLS online and say, "You got to buy me because I'm such a deal." Your counsel must be to have them price towards where the market is trending, to clearly express to them the danger of chasing the market down. Buyers turn into the deal shoppers the longer a buyer's market progresses, because fewer of the sellers in the market will possess the level of motivation needed to sell in a buyer's market. You will require more seller leads than before. You will need to invest more time in finding motivated sellers. It's likely you will turn down listings due to the motivation level. Before you might have listed 90% of the people you might met with, the new sales ratio might be 65% or lower in the buyer's market. This means you will need the listing appointments to produce the same results as before.